Welcome back, everybody. The government shutdown drags on. Remember, the record is 35 days. That was the end of 2018 going into 2019 under President Trump's first term. We are now, I believe, on day 15. So joining us now to discuss if this is going to be the longest we've seen, if it surpasses that 35 days, we've got Congressman Mike Kennedy from the great state of Utah. Sir, thank you so much for being here.
Amanda, thanks for having me on. I'm glad we could get this scheduled finally. We've been wanting to visit with you too for a while, so glad to see you.
Me too. We are so glad to have you here. Sir, 35 days is the record. I don't know what it will take to bring Democrats to the table before that day. What are you feeling is going to bring them to the table?
We're hearing word on the street that they have a We Hate America rally this coming Saturday, and so they don't want to fold to their progressive side of their party until after that. I'm sure for them to go to this rally on Saturday is something that they can't go saying we just folded to the Republicans. And so they're at this point going to hold out through this week, I expect. What's going to happen next week, anybody's guess, but I'll just remind you and your listeners and watchers that 26 days ago, we've voted to fund the government. So anybody complaining about our TSA and air traffic controller people that aren't being paid right now, the government workers that are furloughed, we already voted to fund all those people. And I believe that was the right thing to do. We're just waiting for seven sensible Democrats on the Senate side to actually support us in this effort just to fund the government.
It's funny, sir, you're one of the most popular people on our program because we've been talking a lot about this legislation that you and others are pushing, that when members of Congress fail to get a budget done, they shouldn't collect their paychecks. People love this idea. Tell us why you inspired it, or what inspired you to do it, and then what reaction you get when you talk to everyday Americans about it.
We saw this looming government shutdown, and this was a great time to send that bill and file that bill in the form of, look, if Congress isn't going to do its job, then Congress people should not get their pay. And I totally support that. So I filed that bill. We'll see if we can make it through this process. But when I talk to average people about that, absolutely. If you're not going to show up to work, you don't get a paycheck. I'm a small business owner before I came to Congress. And that's how it works, is if you don't come to work, you don't get paid. And Congress should be held to the same standard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Novel idea.
Sir, when it comes to the messaging war, especially on things like this, no work, no pay, it absolutely is common sense. But I was at Treasury earlier today, and both Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent as well as Trade Representative Jameson Greer, both of them started by saying, you know, the Democrat shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, Republicans have coalesced around this messaging, and the longer it drags on, because you got the Trump administration who has cobbled together pay for service members, for moms who are needing government resources. So what do Democrats do with the messaging as this drags on when they've got constituents coming to them saying, hey, you guys aren't taking care of us?
They're going to get hurt by this, and it's going to take a while for their progressive base to understand what's at stake here and how this is operating. Because of the fact in history that Republicans have been leading these efforts, I think a lot of people are not awake to the fact that this time the Democrats are leading the efforts, shut the government down. And when their base recognizes that the government that they love and they want to expand, the progressive base wants to see more and more government, that when those people are not only being furloughed, those government workers, those bureaucrats, but they're also being fired by the Trump administration, I think the Democrats, the heat is going to continue to build on the Democrats. The other thing for both of you, John and Amanda, is this is nonsense. A $1.5 trillion demand from Chuck Schumer on the other side saying we should just go in a back room. Speaker Johnson just talked to the Congressional Caucus yesterday and said that's what Chuck Schumer wants, is he wants us in a smoke-filled back room with Chuck Schumer, Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, and Hakeem Jeffries to hammer this out. $1.5 trillion of deficit spending on something that most people don't even understand what's going on as to enhance premium tax credits. That is how Chuck Schumer operates. In smoke-filled back rooms, he wants to, with 4 people, spend $1.5 trillion. That's what he's demanding as a result of this government shutdown. He's holding the people, American people, hostage. I find it entirely irresponsible, and Speaker Johnson will have none of this. Leader Thune, none of this. President Trump, none of this. And I think we should hold firm. We've passed a resolution to fund the government, and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer should be held to task for this Schumer shutdown.
So I want to ask about those enhanced Obamacare benefits, which are, I think, a twofold message. One is it shows that Obamacare never was going to lower premiums unless there was a massive subsidy. And two, isn't it the insurers who get the money? Aren't Democrats holding out to help big insurance companies on this?
Right on, John. Actually, I've been approached by hospitals and insurance companies for 8 months. They've been talking to me about this. And by the way, the idea of doubling your premiums, this is what Obamacare does, by the way, without government subsidies.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, come January 1st, everybody's premiums are 26 million Americans' premiums are going to be doubled. That's a big deal, and we can have those conversations. But this actually the Democrats put this enhanced premium tax credit plan, this boondoggle, spending a bunch of money back 4 years ago, 5 years ago. They put it in during the COVID era, and the Democrats set it to expire. So this expiration and this crisis that they're complaining to us about, the Democrats created this 5 years ago. And I am happy in the proper setting in committees when we have budget hearings to discuss these policy issues. But holding the American people hostage and keeping government shut down so our air traffic controllers and air traffic can't go in a safe fashion, totally inappropriate. So let's get the government open and then have those conversations that we need to have about this enhanced premium tax credit debate. But this is a Democrat creation, and for them to blame it on us is entirely, it's a myth, it's a fiction, and I'm not going to stand for it.
No.
Congressman, something else that's big in the news cycle that affects your state, states like Utah that have critical resources under the earth. You've got China, who is now placing these very stringent limits on exports on critical minerals. Now, it obviously is an issue, but it has highlighted something that's even more important, which is that states like Utah, you guys have resources as well. Are Republicans on Capitol Hill working with the Trump administration to not only find a short-term way to fill in the gap in the meantime before we can get things worked out with China, but also to extend that to a longer and more durable situation where we are getting these critical minerals from our own earth, from states like Utah?
Self-sufficiency is fundamental to the American people, and it's certainly fundamental to Utah. And it is nonsense for us to offshore critical earth minerals, these rare earth minerals, offshore them to China, our international adversary. And so, absolutely, the Trump administration is working vigorously to enhance permitting capacity and open up our vast federal lands, including Utah. In Utah, I'll just tell you right now, White Mesa Mill, we are processing rare earth minerals, and we've got a great group of people in San Juan County, rural Utah, rural America, that these outstanding individuals are taking our raw elements and processing these rare earth minerals so that we can make the vital magnets, the batteries that are essential, not only for defense, but also for our technological innovations here in America. We stand ready and able to do this. President Trump's empowering that through permitting reform. I know Doug Burgum on the Interior side, he's working vigorously on this as well. But after the Biden administration locked us up for 4 years, it's been really difficult with NEPA and the environmental process for us to even move into this stuff. So just like anything, it's going to take a while for us to get ramped up, but we need to do this for our own security and self-sufficiency. And I'm entirely supportive of President Trump in doing that.
One last question before I let you go. There's been a lot of focus about what vulnerability we have for our phone records. I think a lot of people never thought it would be the government or the Congress that was rifling through Americans' private phone records, but a few weeks ago, we learned 8 senators and 1 House member had their FBI records gone through by the FBI. Today, we learned that Adam Kinzinger, former member of the House, went to the FBI in December 2023 to offer them 30 million lines of Americans' phone data that the J6 committee basically collected data that basically mapped who was calling the Trump White House from all over the country. Does Congress need to have some restraints maybe put on when it can access everyday Americans' phone records?
Absolutely. Nobody should be subject to these kind of civil rights violations. And as I mentioned, the Democrats are going to show up on Saturday for some protests and telling us how terrible America is. I hope they talk about what they've been doing to actually seize Americans' property and values and records, in this case, phone records, and use it against these people while they complain about ICE trying to arrest illegal aliens and also gang members in our country. They should also complain about the fact that 30 million phone lines were tapped and efforts to influence elections were used. And absolutely, I'm entirely supportive of those kind of constraints, which actually are constitutional, unreasonable search and seizure. The Constitution already protects us from that. But sadly, some congressmen don't understand it. And I'm entirely supportive also of statutory protections that enhance our protections in modern society.
Yeah, Good ideas.
It's ideas like that that fortify the trust of the American people, which has been unfortunately sorely corroded. Utah Congressman Mike Kennedy, thank you so much for being with us
Good to
tonight,
have
sir.
you.
Great to be with you.
Absolutely. We'll get you back on soon. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back.
Hey folks, I've got an important message for you about high blood pressure. It's one of the highest risk factors for mortality. Nearly 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure, meaning there's about a 50-50 chance you could be affected. Getting help and taking control of your blood pressure is crucial for your health and longevity, and one way to do that is by using 120 Life. And 120 Life is not just to help manage high blood pressure, it also can be beneficial for those with diabetes, because managing high blood pressure can help with diabetes, making 120 Life a valuable tool for overall wellness. 120 Life is trusted by healthcare professionals with over 1,000 doctors recommending it to help manage your blood pressure naturally. For a limited time, try 120 Life and save 20% off. Just use the code JTN at checkout at 120life.com. 120 Life offers a risk-free trial with a full refund. If you don't see lower numbers in 2 weeks, go to 120life.com and use the code JTN to save 20%.